guys all ready? Okay. Whenever you're ready to start.
I want to talk to you this morning about reigniting the promise of America. I want to talk about where we've been, where we are, and more importantly, where we are going. We are a nation of great successes. We've brought justice in 2 world wars. We've alleviated the pain of citizens suffering under ruthless dictators, and we have pulled ourselves out of utter economic failure. We have grown families that are strong and moral, families rooted deep in our Christian values. We've defended our Constitution by denying those who have tried to take away our rights to religion and free speech and the right to protect our families. So I ask you, how did we get to where we are now? We have a slow-growing economy, a president who is more concerned with taking away our guns than with fixing the mental health crisis in this country, and a Supreme Court who has taken it upon itself to redefine the meaning of marriage. We are a country where our leaders are letting themselves be outsmarted and letting our citizens be murdered by a group of stateless terrorists. The leadership of this country tells you that they are here to help us, that they want to give you health care, they want to give you a bigger paycheck, and they want to protect you from the bad guys with guns. But that is not the truth. All the things that this administration tells you that they want to give you is really just them trying to control you. It's them trying to further regulate the people of this country by telling them that we aren't smart enough to do it ourselves. They say, sure, everyone gets health care, but you have to choose from our suppliers, our plans, and we will tell you which ones you qualify for. Sure, you can make $15 an hour, but you're going to work less hours, and the rest of the country is going to pay higher taxes. So go ahead, hand over your guns, they tell you, so that we can be the ones to protect you, because we can provide the best protection, not you. And I don't know about you, but this sounds like a bad deal to me. I don't need Washington to tell me what I need to do. So that's why I'm here today, and that is why I'm honored and excited to announce that I'm running for President of the United States. I'm here to put us on the path to where we should be going, closer to a free society where the government doesn't try to limit our right to bear arms, where those who have succeeded in achieving the American dream are congratulated by being forced to pay higher taxes. So if you agree with me, fight with me. Fight to bring back not slow economic growth, but a strong market, booming even more every day. Fight to bring back our traditional Christian Judeo values. Fight for this generation of American citizens, for your right and your chance to prosper in the shining city on the hill. Together we will stand up to the far left and to Washington and invoke the famous words of Patrick Henry, "Give me liberty or give me death," and together we will reignite the promise of America. Thank you, God bless you, and God bless the United States of America. Go ahead and open it up for questions.
Chelsea Adams, I am from the Chicago Tribune. How will your campaign respond to the political cartoon posted in the Washington Post that used your daughters in an unethical way?
Well, I think I responded to it the right way by throwing back at them what they threw at me. My daughters are not a campaign stunt. They're not freaking. They're young girls growing up, and if the press thinks that they are fair game, then I would suggest that they review their ethical values.
Thank you.
I'm Chris Superior with the Associated Press. You're often described as tearing the Republican Party apart with your criticisms of other Republicans, while your opponent, Rubio, is described as uniting the Republican Party. Do you think that you are the dividing force of the party, and will this affect your presidential run?
No, I don't think that I'm a dividing force. I think that Rubio saying that he's uniting the party is being complacent. I think it's great that we have this big field of growing candidates every day. I think that makes us more fine-tuned as opposed to other parties who just have 1 or 2 candidates running. We're really getting down to the heart of the policies that we're arguing by offering more options.
Matt Hedrick, Washington Post. You won Iowa basically on the backs of evangelical voters. How are you going to do well in New Hampshire, considering those voters really aren't there?
Well, I think think it's important to know the type of voters that you're trying to appeal to in every state. You know, Iowa, I have that strong base there. In New Hampshire, I have a strong base of people who believe in their constitutional freedom. So I'm gonna talk to them about how we're gonna fight for our constitutional rights and not let people try and stifle it.
Ned Sievert, CNN. As a self-proclaimed outsider going against the Washington cartel, do you believe that you could get your agenda through a divided Congress?
I think I could. I think that right now the leadership that we have, even on the Republican side, isn't strong enough about fighting for what we really believe in. So I think that if I go in there with my passion and my beliefs, I'll be able to push things through by making people listen to me and make them understand where I'm coming from.
John Matthews, New York Times. You talk about getting things done in Washington. Yet you've been responsible for the government shutdown with your filibuster at the end of 2013. So what do you have to say about that in terms of working to get things done in Washington?
I think that we need an effective government, and while a government shutdown should be avoided at all costs, at that point in time, I thought it would be better to have a government shutdown than have the government keep running the way it was running.
Riley Donahue, Wall Street Journal. You just mentioned that you thought mental health is a problem in the country. What would you actually plan on doing to address it?
Well, I think that it goes along with repealing Obamacare. The government doesn't need to tell us what type of medical insurance we need. If we have individuals struggling with mental health, they should be able to qualify for plans that do cover their mental health, the aspects of treatment that they're trying to receive there, as opposed to Obamacare now that's telling them, well, you need this insurance because this is what you qualify for, even though it's not necessarily what they need.
Andy Dove, NBC News. Your campaign seems to really show that you champion Judeo-Christian ethics. Do you think that expressing yourself in this manner might cause issues with working together with more mainstream establishment Republicans in Congress?
Check with my staff and get back.
John Matthews, New York Times again. You've been accused by Mr. Trump of stealing the Iowa caucus with your voter violation certificates that you sent out as mailers. Do you have a comment for Mr. Trump?
I have a lot of things to say to Mr. Trump, but I did not violate any rules in Iowa. I won Iowa because I appealed to the people that vote there. I didn't do anything illegal. I didn't send out anything illegal. And Mr. Trump wants a redo, I'll beat him again.
Any more questions? All right, nice work. Thank you.
Clap please, as Jeb Bush would say. All right, Rubio team. Remember, there will be follow-up interviews after the press conferences. So if there are any additional questions you want to ask, that's the time. If anything comes up in the next 45 minutes, then you may ask about it. Yes.
I'm not still just only for the media. I don't want to give you that.
Sorry?
Are those only for the media to ask questions? I'm not getting like other
Yeah. Only for the media. So, well, I'm going to assign each reporter to one of the teams initially, and then the reporters will, if they have time, can actually circulate.
Give me
The Rubio team may start whenever you're ready.
Good morning, and thank you all for coming. In 1956, two poor immigrants from Cuba came to the United States, the only place they thought they could create a better future. They worked hard as a bartender and a maid, and created the life for their 4 children that they never had. These 2 immigrants were my own parents, and they achieved the American dream. But now, more than ever, this dream is in danger for Americans. See, in the past, Most people were bound to live the same lives as their parents, but not here in America. With aspirations, hard work, and determination in this country, we can achieve our dreams. We can achieve success. We can live better lives than our parents and grandparents. But Americans fear that this dream is no longer the reality. The 20th century, led by the previous generation, undoubtedly became the American century. America was a global leader, and our people were prosperous. But right now, our leaders are putting our American dreams and our future in jeopardy. Why is it that hardworking families are still living paycheck to paycheck? That young people are unable to begin their lives because of their accumulated debt from degrees that did not lead to jobs? Why small businesses are sinking from the weight of more taxes, more regulation, and more government? This is not the American dream my parents, my fellow Americans, and so many others before them were able to attain. But with the right leadership, we can change our future. We can make this century the new American century. We can still achieve those dreams and beliefs our great nation was based on if we reform our outdated tax code, if we reduce unnecessary and burdensome regulation, if we control spending, if we create 21st century immigration laws, and if we repeal and replace Obamacare, we will have ourselves a new American century. See, in the new American century, we will have a strong and fully supported military and leaders that will stand up to foreign threats. We will support each of our brave men and women in uniform. Our education system will allow every parent the right to choose what is best for their own child. It will prepare the next generations with the skills necessary in the new modern economy. We will promote and spread democracy and human rights around the world, rather than watch it erode. See, if we do these things, our nation and our people will be more prosperous and more free. See, I want to be president to preserve this American dream for the millions of citizens of this country, and not just them, but their children and their children's children. We can, with the right policies, ensure the equality of opportunity that our nation was founded on. It is time for new American leadership in America, not the leaders of the past forgetting about our American dream. In America, we are guided by our past, but we are always looking towards the future. And that is why I stand before you all today, grounded by the lessons of our history, but inspired by the promise of our future, that I announce my candidacy for President of the United States. Together, we will all prosper in the new American century. Oh, sorry.
Matt Hetrick, Washington Post. You're coming off of a victory in Iowa. Who would you regard as your biggest rival going forward in the GOP race?
I'd say my biggest rival probably be the winner of the caucus, Ted Cruz. Although I consider the caucus a victory, we were told that we, couldn't succeed, that I wouldn't be here today. And here I am, a strong third place finish, only 1 percentage point behind Trump. And he's only a few points behind Ted Cruz, so I think it's, that.
The Associated Press. There's recent polls that say you're sleeping second behind Donald Trump in the New Hampshire primary. Do you find it discouraging that someone who's recently been politically active is ahead of you, where you have a lot of experience?
I don't necessarily consider myself the establishment. There are, established Republicans that have a name in politics that are spending millions of dollars to attack me. So I wouldn't consider myself, the establishment either.
John Matthews, New York Times. Since you became a senator in 2011, you have an absentee rate near 29%. Many people consider this because you've had national aspirations. How can people trust you to represent the American people when you struggle to represent just the people of Florida?
Senators miss votes. It happens. You can check anyone's congressional record. People I'm running against have missed votes also. But the reason I'm not seeking the Senate position is because I want to make those votes in the Senate matter, and I think I will as president.
Riley Donahue, Wall Street Journal. You just mentioned that we need to support our troops more. Would that include reforming the Department of Veterans Affairs? Or
Yes, absolutely.
Chelsea Adams, Chicago Tribune. You've been criticized recently in the media over your shoe attire, and it's even been turned into an attack ad. How do you and your campaign are going to respond to these attack ads?
I think this election is not about what shoes I wear. I think it's about the issues facing the American public. Yeah.
Matt Sievert, CNN. As a Cuban American and son of Cuban immigrants, how do you feel about President Obama's decision to open up diplomatic relations with Cuba?
Well, I do support Cuba, obviously I have ties to it, but I don't think giving the Castro regime legitimacy will help the Cuban people. I think it just leads to more oppression of the Cubans.
You mentioned defending freedom at home or abroad during your announcement. What exactly would that entail?
So something I mentioned, especially with like ISIS and foreign threats, I think we need to stick up to them. We need to stop appeasing our enemies, something that our current president is doing. So I would definitely support each and every man and woman in uniform and give them all the tools that they need.
I'm Andy Dove, NBC News. You mentioned bolstering defense forces and, like you just mentioned, ramping up involvement in global crises. How would you ensure that being involved in countering ISIS and threats like that will be able to prevent a situation like we had in Iraq?
I'm gonna check with my campaign and get back to you on that one.
Yesterday, President Obama made a speech at a mosque in Baltimore, and you had a comment saying that President Obama is trying to divide us by implying that America is discriminating against Muslims. Considering all the rhetoric that's come out of the Republican side of the campaign, the primaries, do you think, would you like to clarify your comment?
I just don't think that there's discrimination against Muslims. I mean, maybe like
You don't think
refugees.
some of the rhetoric is kind of perpetuating those types of beliefs?
Not by me personally. Maybe other opponents.
Any more questions? Very good, thank you. All right, Team Trump.
Apologize in advance, I'm a little under the weather. That was me talking, not Trump. You all good to go? Campaign team? Nice. This once great nation is falling behind the rest of the world. We were once strong, but under this current leadership in Washington, the rest of the world only looks our way and sees weakness. That will all change when I'm your next president of the United States of America. That's right, there's no more if Donald Trump runs. It is now Donald Trump is running and the other candidates should be scared. I'm here to make this country great again. You look around and see that this country just doesn't have victories anymore. China is winning. Russia is winning. ISIS is winning. Mexico is laughing at us at the border. Our GDP was below zero last quarter. Below zero. Labor participation was its worst since 1978. Real unemployment is anywhere between 18 and 20%. You can't believe the government BS that they're throwing at you. Too many people don't have jobs. It needs to stop. Do you think these other candidates really have what it takes to solve these problems? Just look at Marco Rubio. I don't even think he's old enough to grow a beard. I said, don't hit Iraq because it would destabilize the region. Look at it now. Ted Cruz and Marco Rubio don't even know if Iraq was a good or a bad thing. They don't have a clue. How are they going to lead us? Our country needs a great leader, and it needs it now. One that can bring back jobs, manufacturing, and military. And of course our vets, they've been abandoned. This all starts with a stronger military. We've lost too many soldiers. I love our soldiers. They say successful people can't run for public office. Well, here I am, ladies and gentlemen. I'm officially running for President of the United States. And we are going to make our country great again. I will be the greatest jobs president that God has ever created. I'm really rich. I don't need donors' money, and I don't need lobbyist money. We have $18 trillion in debt and a country that is obsolete. I'm going to bring money in, and I'm going to save it. The American dream is dead. But if I get elected president, I will bring it back bigger and better and stronger than ever before, and we will make America great again.
John Matthews, New York Times. Do you regret skipping the last Republican debate? Do you feel that it affected you with the Iowa voters?
Honestly, anything's possible, but I stand by my decision. Fox News was really attacking me in an unfair way, and Ted Cruz saw that during the debate. He actually said on stage that he would leave that debate if they kept attacking him like they were. And it just shows that they want the establishment candidate. Fox News is behind the establishment candidate, and Ted Cruz and I are just at a disadvantage.
Associated Press. It has been announced that you are nominated for a Nobel Peace Prize. Do you think this will bring you more supporters and prove your work?
I think it just shows how good of a person I am. I think people look at me and think, Donald Trump, not a good man. But I donate a ton of money. Like I said, I'm filthy stinking rich. I donate a ton of money to charities, and I stand by what I believe in. This Nobel Peace Prize just shows it.
Chelsea Adams, Chicago Tribune. You said you love the troops. Would you do any reform for VA affairs?
Absolutely. I think more money just needs to be spent their way. I think they're abandoned, often left on the streets, and that's just unacceptable. They served our country, they did a great job, and now we should pay them back.
Riley Donahue, Wall Street Journal. You have essentially no political experience. Why do you think you do well with the organization?
I know what the people want. I know that I am their voice, and there are too many people in suits trying to tell America what they want and not really listen to the American people. And I say it how it is. I'm up here trying to address the real issues at hand, and political experience doesn't really matter there. I'm a United States citizen. I've lived here my whole life. I understand what's wrong.
Ned Sievert, CNN. You've previously supported Hillary Clinton and a single-payer healthcare system. How do you square away your prior rhetoric with your current platform?
Views change. You can't expect me to have the same views that I had 10, 20 years ago. It all comes down to what the country needs at the time. So back then, they may have needed that. Right now, they might need something different.
In your opening statement, you said other candidates should be scared and that we just don't have victories anymore. Given that you were beaten handedly by Ted Cruz, should they be scared or should you be scared?
I don't think that was a defeat. I think we came in, no one took us seriously, and second place is a great accomplishment. I think we beat Marco Rubio. I know third place is apparently considered a victory nowadays. But we came in second, he came in third. That's just how it is. Ted Cruz won the vote only because of the evangelicals.
Just a follow-up, would you consider second place losing?
I don't think so. I think Ted Cruz only won because of the evangelicals. I think without them and their support and maybe Ben Carson taking votes away from me, could have easily won Iowa.
So losing begins at third place.
Losing what?
Losing begins at third place in Iowa?
No. Losing begins where losing is. I'm just saying second place is better than third. First is better than second. Yes, we lost in Iowa, but I'm not going to count it as a defeat.
Andy Dove, NBC News. You have had some very strong opinions on immigration lately. Aside from the tactical level response to immigration control, do you have any opinions on potential policies, on actual policy reforms to immigration control?
Well, I think we need to kick out the illegals. I think, personally, they're bringing down the country. They're taking our jobs. And it all starts with the wall. You know, there needs to be a wall between Mexico and the United States. Dual funding between us and Mexico. I think the price of this wall would be $15 billion. Split that between Mexico, we could lower it down. Maybe there's some parts that are already strong enough. And maybe lower it down to $5 billion. $5 billion plan to fix our border problems, I think, is not really a bad expense.
John Matthews, New York Times. You've heavily criticized President Obama's foreign policy. What would you do in particular with regards to the Middle East and ISIS?
Personally, I think we got to hit them where it hurts. We have to really go in there, increase government spending on military, really show the support to our troops and give them every tool possible to defeat ISIS. They are one of our biggest threats, right there with China and Russia. China's posing problems, Russia's posing problems, ISIS is right there.
Matt Hedrick, Washington Post. What is your favorite Bible verse?
All of them. I don't pick favorites when it comes to the Lord.
Any more questions?
Mr. Trump, you talk about winning and victories a lot, so who do you think is going to win the Super Bowl?
You know, I'm a man from New York. Kind of hope that one of the New York teams would be there. Maybe the Buffalo Bills, the true team of New York. I'm from Buffalo. But I like what Peyton Manning's doing. I like the veteran. And I'm gonna go with the Broncos. Even though I think the Panthers are probably gonna win, but I like the Broncos.
All right, even though the candidate just lost the 11 electoral college votes of North Carolina, you did a good job. Thank you very much. All right, moving on to the Democrats. Secretary Clinton.
Hello, my name is Hillary Clinton, and I've been doing a lot of thinking lately. Thinking about the future of America. I have been dedicated to the future of America for my whole life. After law school, I worked advocating for children. As First Lady, I fought for employers to be required to provide health care to their employees. As First Lady, as Senator of New York, I played a crucial role in post-9/11 recovery, and I adamantly opposed the Iraq War. As Secretary of State, I fought for humans all across the globe and gained crucial global experience. I have experience in Washington, and that is a good thing. I know what Americans need. I know the struggles that you have been facing, and I have a plan to address them. And that is why, in 2016, I am running for president. I am passionate about the Democratic Party's mission. I will be a champion for everyday Americans. I know you all work hard and that you haven't seen a wage increase in years. I will support small businesses. As president, I will further the rights of women, minorities, and the LGBT community. We won't leave anyone behind. I will fight against climate change, which is a proven fact. We will reform the immigration system so that families who come to America looking for a better life will be able to stay together instead of living in constant fear. While we have made progress in these areas over the past 8 years, we need to do more. There is always more to do. I will work for those who have been marginalized. I am running for those who have been knocked down time and time again. I will continue the legacy that President Obama has started so that America can prosper once again, so that you can prosper once again. We cannot afford to have a Republican president. That is why I am running. To fight for you, to fight for the everyday American. You need a president that will work towards social and economic equality. I know you have been working hard, and that is why you deserve to prosper. And that is why I am going to work hard for you to be elected the next President of the United States. Questions? Yes?
Matt Sievert, CNN. Given that New Hampshire seems to be more of a Bernie Sanders state, will your campaign focus hard on winning New Hampshire or move on to other states?
We here at the Clinton campaign do not back down from a challenge. We love the citizens of New Hampshire. They know us. We know we can do well there. We will win New Hampshire, and then we will move right on to South Carolina. Yes?
Matt Hedrick, Washington Post. Going into the primaries, you were seen as sort of a safe bet to win the Democratic nomination, but now you've struggled to capture the enthusiasm that Sanders has gotten. How would you respond to accusations that you're the Jeb Bush of the Democratic Party?
First of all, I have the utmost of respect for both Senator Sanders and Governor Bush. I think they have both been doing a really good job and have been running admirable campaigns, and I don't see that as an insult. I'm garnering support. We did really well in Iowa. We just won, and I think we're going to continue on to the nomination. Yes?
Chris, Associated Press. You just said that you want to support the further rights of women, yet Bernie Sanders has more of the younger women's vote. Can you explain why this is?
Can I defer this to my campaign manager? Okay, yeah, we will get back to you on that. Yes?
Chelsea Adams, Chicago Tribune. Your campaign has turned to the use of social media such as Twitter to rally the vote of the younger people. How else do you plan to rally the vote of the younger crowd?
I see us as having a lot of the support of the younger crowd. They seem to be excited about my candidacy. I'm excited about them. They're getting out to vote. We had a record number of young Democrats participating in the Iowa caucuses. I feel that we can do a really good job to support them. And we have a really good plan for higher education affordability with our new college compact. So we're working hard to support young people, their education, because they are the future of America. Yes?
John Matthews, New York Times. You were just talking about the young Democratic voters. According to an exit poll, you received only 14% of votes, Democrats aged 17 to 29 in Iowa. So how do you plan to combat against that?
As I said before, Senator Sanders has been doing a really good job. He has been working hard to specifically target those voters. And while we may have received a relatively low percentage, that's still a huge number of voters if you look at the raw numbers. Yes.
Andy Dove, NBC News. The Obama administration has come under fire recently in regards to foreign policy issues, particularly in the Middle East. How would you plan to salvage the U.S. image, especially in global affairs?
Well, I have a long list of experience being Secretary of State. I learned a lot about global affairs. And we have been, the diplomacy that John Kerry has started in the Middle East has been working. ISIS released the American sailors who were recently captured very quickly and compared to how the Republicans would have handled it. So I believe that diplomacy is the right way to handle the Middle East. Unlike some of my opponents would say, carpet bombing them into oblivion. Yes.
Riley Donahue, Wall Street Journal. Bernie Sanders has been pretty adamant that money in politics is a big problem in the U.S. today. Would you agree with that?
Yes, money in politics is a problem, and money in politics is a problem. However, Bernie has been spending more money than me, so maybe you should ask his campaign the same question.
John Matthews, New York Times. People have criticized the ability for the Clinton Global Initiative to raise funds from foreign actors. What do you think the role of the CGI should be while you're campaigning for president, and also if you were to be elected president?
Well, The CGI, the Clinton Global Initiative, is completely separate from my political endeavors. We have been working hard to support those in poverty all over the world to improve their quality of life. They have been taking a step back, as have I, while I am running for office, because they don't want to be involved. They don't want their philanthropy to be clouded by politics, and that is what I will also do, so that my philanthropy isn't clouded by my political views or my candidacy. Yes?
You're currently under investigation by the FBI for using a private email server to store government secrets. How will your campaign handle this going forward, and how does it complicate your campaign?
First of all, I would just like to say that I would never put Americans in danger. When I was using this private email server, I had no intention of putting anyone in danger, and I was not releasing classified information. And going forward, I have learned a lesson from this. I admit to my mistakes, but I will continue to do everything I can to keep Americans safe as president. Okay, we'll take one more.
You talk about fighting for women throughout your political career. However, your husband, former President Bill Clinton, plays a huge role in your campaign. Don't you think this makes you appear as someone who is riding the coattails of your husband's political success more than fighting for women?
That's a sexist question, and I refuse to buy into that. However, I'm not riding the coattails. I got here on my own ambition, my own credentials, and I am extremely qualified for the position of President of the United States. Just because I'm a woman, you wouldn't be asking a man that question. That was all the time we have for questions.
Thank you very much. Very nice work so far. All right, Sanders team, when you're ready.
Feel the burn.
Yes.
I'm a doctor.
Thank you all very much for being here, for all the support you have given me over the years as mayor of this great city, Vermont's only congressman, and now as a U.S. Senator. Today, I am proud to announce my candidacy for President of the United States of America. Today, we begin a political revolution to transform our country economically, politically, socially, and environmentally. Today, we stand here and say loudly and clearly that enough is enough. This great nation and its government belong to all of the people and not a handful of billionaires. My fellow Americans, here's my promise to you for this campaign. Not only will I fight to protect the working families of this country, but we're going to build a movement of millions of Americans who are prepared to stand up and fight back. We're going to take this campaign directly to the people. Let's be clear, this campaign is not about Bernie Sanders. This campaign is about the needs of the American people. Let me take a minute to touch on some of the issues that I'll be focusing on in the coming months. Today, we live in the wealthiest nation in the history of the world, but that reality means very little for most of us because almost all of that wealth is owned and controlled by a tiny handful of individuals. Let me be very clear. There is something profoundly wrong when the top 1/10 of 1% owns almost as much wealth as the bottom 90%, and when 99% of all new income goes to the top 1%. This grotesque level of inequality is immoral. This type of rigged economy is not what America is about. This has got to change, and as your president, together, we will change it. But it is not just about income and wealth inequality. It is the tragic reality that for the last 40 years, the great middle class of our country, once the envy of the world, has been disappearing. The truth is that real unemployment is not the 5.4% you read in the newspapers. It is close to the 11% if you include those workers who have given up looking for jobs or who are working part-time when they want to work full-time. This campaign is about those people and our struggling middle class. It is about creating an economy that works for all and not just the 1%. And when we talk about education, let me be very clear. In a highly competitive global economy, we need the best educated workforce we can create. It is insane and counterproductive to the best interest of our country that hundreds of thousands of bright young people cannot afford to go to college and that millions of others leave school with a mountain of debt that burdens them for decades. That must end. That is why, as president, I will fight to make tuition in public colleges and universities free, as well as substantially lower interest rates on student loans. As some of you know, I was born in a faraway land called Brooklyn, New York. As a kid, I learned what lack of money means to a family. That's a lesson I have never forgotten. I have seen the promise of America in my own life, but for too many of our fellow Americans, the dream of progress and opportunity is being denied by the grind of an economy that funnels all the wealth to the top. However, when people stand together and are prepared to fight back, there is nothing that can't be accomplished. I ask you to join me in this campaign to build a future that works for all of us and not just the few at the top.
Tulsi Adams, Chicago Tribune. Senator Sanders, both you and Secretary Clinton have expressed the need for stopping the billionaire class. How will your campaign try and gain voters from the working class away from Secretary Clinton?
Well, we're gonna definitely be we're gonna have the unions endorsing us, and then on top of that, if you think about it, I think people are gonna realize that Hillary Clinton is not really a progressive as much as she says she is. You know, she supported the Trans-Pacific Partnership, she supported the Iraq War, and you know, those are just some of the few examples, so I think people are going to see, but besides that, we are going to, you know, endorse the unions, and I think people will see.
Associated Press, your passion has drawn in a lot of young voters, but can you guarantee that you can turn these passions into reality once elected in office?
Right, so, give me 1 second. Okay, so you're basically asking me if I can win other parts of the country, right? So I believe that, you know, we are a diverse political nation, and there are people who like Donald Trump, there are people who like Hillary Clinton, and that's fine. But what's not fine is someone saying that they like me but don't think that I'm electable. I do very well with independents, which is why I don't like polls, because they don't show that. What else? Democrats win elections when there's a large voter turnout. Republicans win elections when people are tired and miserable and let down. So I would say there's more excitement and energy in this campaign, which will drive voter turnout. Any other questions?
Andy Dove, NBC News. Your campaign's come under a lot of criticism for not really talking about international issues or international relations with, you know, outside the United States issues. Aside from the domestic issues that you brought up in your campaign, do you consider potential threats and issues abroad to be as significant or close to significant as the issues at home as far as U.S. prosperity?
Okay, so I do know what you're talking about, that we, you know, have not focused that much on issues abroad. Of course, with the Iraq War, I told you that I did not stand by that, and anybody who did stand by that obviously made a mistake. You know, if we needed to intervene in the Middle East, I don't think that there's a reason to now. If we ever needed to, then maybe we would. But there's just so many things at home that I think that are really, really important. You know, we have the Rebuild America Act, College for All, Universal Health Care. There's just so many things to focus on here before, you know, it is very important that I happen to believe that we should be bringing refugees over here, and that's something that I would focus on. But as I mentioned, we have a lot at home. You know, we need to reform the criminal justice system, all this stuff. So that answers your question.
Matt Hedrick, Washington Post. Hillary Clinton has strong support from women in general and African Americans, two key demographics for winning the Democratic nomination. How do you plan to get those votes?
Yeah, well, we've been receiving endorsements from prominent African Americans, so I don't know. And so your question was on women?
African Americans.
African, right. So yeah, so we've been receiving endorsements from prominent, important African American leaders, and then you know, even besides that, even like talking about the minority vote in general, in Iowa we won 15 of the largest 20 counties where Latinos live. So that's part of the minority vote. We're reaching out as strongly as we can. For example, you know, to the African American community, the Latino community, and we're gaining more support in those communities. But overall, people need to know that there will be no president who will tackle institutional racism better than I will.
John Matthews, New York Times. You originally viewed yourself as a socialist. You begin to claim yourself as a democratic socialist, and even recently mentioned yourself as a Democrat. Do you feel that you're being disingenuous?
No, I don't, because you know it's important to explain the difference between a socialist and a democratic socialist. You know, socialism is the belief that there should be no private ownership with regard to businesses. Democratic socialists like me do believe in private ownership and a free market with reasonable regulations, as well as democratically elected government that works for the good of all people and not just a handful of billionaires. It's the belief that there can be institutions in place for the common good. This includes social programs that already exist, like Social Security, public transportation. I really just believe, and I think I'm tapping into a large group of people who believe that government can do good in people's lives, and especially at a time like this where we need a political revolution. Now is the time for, you know, a democratic socialist like me.
Ned Siebert, CNN. Have comparisons with the 2008 Obama campaign created expectations that are hurting your campaign, where making up ground to have a 50-50 vote in Iowa with Hillary is seen as a defeat?
Honestly, we did, when I came into this, I didn't think that we were going to get as far as we did, but as I mentioned before, I saw how strongly people believe in what I strongly believe in. So, you know, are we where we want to be under Obama? No. Have we come really far? Yes. So, you know, Obama has really helped us with the progressive movement, but I believe that, you know, we need more than that. And that's where I think my campaign is really important.
Red Diamond, Wall Street Journal. If you were elected president, you'd be the oldest president to take office. Do you think that would negatively impact your administration if you were worried about your health all the time?
Well, it's not aging yet. But I am, thank God, I'm in perfect health, almost perfect health. And you know, in high school, I did long distance running, and you know, I just think that really helped me. You know, if I was not in perfect health, I would not be running for president. So I don't think anybody needs to worry about my health.
John Matthews, New York Times. What is your definition of a progressive? You and Secretary Clinton have different views on what the term means. How would you define it in yourself?
Well, Hillary Clinton has a super PAC. I don't believe that you can have a super PAC and be a progressive. Like I said before, you can't vote for the Iraq War and be a progressive. You can't support the TPP and be a progressive. Another big thing that, you know, is important to progressives, climate change is real, and anybody who says it isn't is I don't understand where that comes from. So for a long time, Hillary supported the Keystone Pipeline, and I don't believe that you can be a progressive and ever support that. There's been years and years of proof of it. So these are just some of the areas where me and Hillary vary in terms of who's a progressive. But I mean, you can decide that for yourself.
A lot of times in this campaign, you talked about people rigging elections, money, and otherwise. You're from Vermont, which is Patriots country. How would you react to allegations that Tom Brady rigged the AFC Championship game by changing the inflation of footballs?
Oh man. I mean, well, Tom Brady, he just reminds me of those big cheater super PACs. So that's where I stand.
In a recent exit poll from the Iowa caucuses, only 17% of Democratic voters thought that you were nationally electable come November. Does this worry you?
No, because in the UMass poll today, we're up by 22 points. So I'm not. It's just in one day we received over $3 million in campaign donations from all of those poll winners. And the poll today, the UMass poll today, I'm not worried at all. Is that it? Okay, thank you.
All right, this is great. We have plenty of time for some short interviews. Let me just be brief real quick. First of all, I thought